The clock struck midnight, and Alex Harper's world shattered. He stood frozen in his Brooklyn apartment, the echo of Jamie's goodbye still ringing in his ears, the door slamming shut like a guillotine on their love. 5 years of laughter, whispered promises, and stolen kisses gone in a single, devastating moment. But then, the impossible happened. The room spun, colors bleeding into a kaleidoscope of light, and Alex's heart lurched as he fell through time itself. When the world steadied, he was no longer in 2025, but standing in the autumn of 2020, the year it all began to unravel. His second chance. Alex blinked, disoriented, as the familiar hum of New York City flooded his senses. The air carried the crisp bite of fall, and the streets of Williamsburg buzzed with life hipsters sipping overpriced coffee, street vendors hawking pretzels, and the distant wail of a siren. He was 24 again, his body lighter, his heart not yet scarred. But the weight of memory clung to him like damp leaves. This was the year Jamie slipped away, the year their love crumbled under the pressure of secrets, misunderstandings, and Alex's own cowardice. This time, he vowed, it would be different. He found Jamie exactly where he knew he'd be, at the edge of McCarran Park, sketching under a sprawling oak tree. Jamie's golden hair caught the sunlight, and his pencil danced across the page with the same effortless grace Alex had fallen for. But there was a tension in Jamie's shoulders, a shadow in his hazel eyes that Alex hadn't noticed back then. He'd been too wrapped up in his own fears, too afraid to tell his family about them, too scared to stand up to the world's judgment. That fear had driven a wedge between them, and by the time Alex realized it, Jamie was gone. "Hey," Alex called, his voice trembling with a mix of nostalgia and determination. Jamie looked up, startled, and for a moment, their eyes locked. It was like the first time they'd met, at a crowded art gallery opening, when Jamie's shy smile had unraveled Alex's defenses. But this wasn't a first meeting. This was a reckoning. "Alex." Jamie's voice was cautious, but there was a flicker of warmth, a spark that hadn't yet been extinguished. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you," Alex said, stepping closer. His heart pounded, every instinct screaming to pull Jamie into his arms and beg for forgiveness. But he couldn't rush this. He had to earn it. "Can we talk?" Jamie hesitated, his pencil hovering over the sketchbook. "Sure," he said finally, closing the book with a soft thud. "But you've been distant lately. What's going on?" The question hit like a punch. Alex remembered this moment from the original timeline, how he'd brushed Jamie off, too consumed by his own insecurities to notice the hurt in Jamie's eyes. This time, he wouldn't make that mistake. "I've been an idiot," Alex admitted, sitting beside Jamie on the grass. The scent of earth and fallen leaves grounded him, a reminder that this was real. "I've been pushing you away, and I'm sorry. I want to fix things. I want us." Jamie's expression softened, but doubt lingered. "Alex, you say that, but you've been pulling back for months. I don't even know if you're all in anymore." The words stung, but they were true. In 2020, Alex had been wrestling with his identity, terrified of what it meant to love Jamie openly. His family's conservative roots, the whispers at work, the fear of being seen, it had all built a wall he didn't know how to tear down. But now, armed with the pain of losing Jamie. He was ready to fight. "I'm all in," Alex said, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "I've been scared, Jamie. Scared of what people think, of what my family might say. But I'm done hiding. I love you, and I'm not letting that go." Jamie's breath caught, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. The rustle of leaves, the distant hum of the city, it all faded, leaving just the two of them. Jamie reached out, his fingers brushing Alex's. Tentative but electric. "You mean that?" he whispered. "I do," Alex said, and the weight of those words felt like a vow. He wanted to tell Jamie everything about the future, about the pain of losing him, about this impossible second chance. But he couldn't. Not yet. Instead, he leaned closer, their foreheads almost touching. "Give me a chance to prove it." Jamie smiled. A small, fragile thing. But it was enough. For now, it was enough. Over the next few weeks, Alex threw himself into rebuilding what he'd nearly lost. He showed up at Jamie's favorite coffee shop with his sketchbook, sat through open mic nights at dive bars, and held Jamie's hand in public, even when his pulse raced with nerves. Each moment was a step toward redemption, a chance to rewrite the past. But the shadow of 2020 loomed large. Alex knew what was coming, the fight that would break them, the night Jamie would walk away. It was still months away, but every day felt like a race against time. One evening, as they walked along the East River, the city skyline glittering across the water, Jamie stopped and turned to Alex. "You're different," he said, his voice soft but curious. "Like, you're trying so hard. What changed?" Alex's heart skipped. He couldn't tell Jamie the truth, not about time travel, not about the future he was desperate to prevent. Instead, he took Jamie's hand, the warmth of it grounding him. "I realized what I was about to lose," he said, "and I'll do anything to keep you." Jamie's eyes searched his, and for a moment, Alex thought he saw a flicker of understanding, as if Jamie sensed the weight of what wasn't said. Then Jamie leaned in, his lips brushing Alex's in a kiss that felt like a promise. "Don't break my heart, Alex," he murmured. "I won't," Alex swore. But deep down, he knew the hardest battles were still ahead. The weeks blurred into a delicate dance of hope and fear. Alex clung to every moment with Jamie, savoring the laughter, the quiet nights in his tiny apartment, the way Jamie's eyes lit up when he talked about his art. But the calendar was a relentless enemy, ticking closer to December, when everything would fall apart. Alex remembered it vividly, a heated argument at a Christmas party, fueled by too much wine and unspoken truths, ending with Jamie walking out into the snow, leaving Alex with nothing but regret. This time, Alex was determined to change the script. He started small, addressing the cracks he'd ignored before. He opened up about his fears, telling Jamie about the pressure from his family, the weight of their expectations. Jamie listened, his hand steady in Alex's. And for the first time, Alex felt the wall between them begin to crumble. But the world wasn't as kind as their stolen moments. Alex's job at a marketing firm was a minefield of subtle judgments, coworkers who raised eyebrows when he mentioned Jamie, a boss who made offhand comments about keeping things professional. Alex had let it get to him before, retreating into silence to avoid conflict. Now, he pushed back. When a colleague made a snide remark about his friend, Alex didn't hesitate. "My boyfriend," he corrected, his voice firm. The room went quiet, but the weight lifted from his chest. Jamie, standing nearby, squeezed his hand, pride shining in his eyes. Still, the closer they got to December, the more Alex's nerves frayed. He couldn't shake the memory of that fateful night, the way Jamie's face had crumpled, the way his own words had cut too deep. He'd been defensive, lashing out when Jamie questioned his commitment, accusing him of not understanding the pressure Alex was under. It had been a mistake, one he couldn't undo in the original timeline. But now, he had a chance. One chilly November evening, they attended an art gallery event in Chelsea. Jamie's work on display. The room buzzed with pretentious chatter, but Jamie was radiant, his paintings drawing a crowd. Alex watched him work the room, charming collectors with his quiet confidence. But as the night wore on, Alex noticed a familiar tension in Jamie's posture, the same unease that had sparked their fight in the original timeline. Someone had made a comment, something about Jamie's lifestyle not fitting the gallery's brand. Alex hadn't been there to hear it the first time, too busy networking. This time, he was by Jamie's side in an instant. "Who said that?" Alex asked, his voice low but fierce. Jamie shook his head, trying to brush it off, but Alex wouldn't let it go. He found the gallery owner, a slick man in a tailored suit, and confronted him. "If Jamie's work isn't welcome because of who he is, then you don't deserve his talent." The room stilled, heads turning. Jamie's eyes widened, a mix of shock and gratitude. The owner stammered an apology, but Alex didn't care. He took Jamie's hand and led him outside, the cold air biting their faces. "You didn't have to do that," Jamie said, his voice trembling. "Yes, I did," Alex replied. "I'm done letting anyone make you feel less than you are, including me." Jamie's smile was small but genuine, and he pulled Alex into a hug, their breath visible in the frosty air. For a moment, Alex thought he'd done it, changed the course of their story. But the real test was still coming. December arrived, and with it, the Christmas party. Alex's stomach churned as they stepped into the loft, fairy lights twinkling, the air thick with the scent of pine and mulled wine. This was a moment that had broken them. In the original timeline, Alex had been distant, avoiding Jamie's attempts to talk, until Jamie's frustration boiled over. The fight had been explosive, ending with Jamie's ultimatum: "If you can't be all in, I'm done." This time, Alex stayed close, his hand never leaving Jamie's. When Jamie's eyes flickered with doubt, Alex leaned in, whispering, "I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." But as the night wore on, the tension grew. Jamie's smiles were forced, his laughter too quick. Alex could feel the weight of unspoken fears, the same ones that had torn them apart. Finally, Jamie pulled him aside, his voice low. "Alex, I need to know. Are you really ready for this? For us? Because I can't keep wondering if you're going to pull back again." Alex's heart raced. This was the moment. He could see the pain in Jamie's eyes, the fear of being hurt again. He took a deep breath, the weight of the future pressing against him. "Jamie, I've never been more sure of anything. I love you, and I'm ready to fight for this every day, no matter what." Jamie's eyes searched his, and for a moment, Alex thought he'd won. But then Jamie's expression faltered. "I want to believe you," he said softly. "But I need time." Alex's heart sank. But he nodded. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here." As Jamie walked away, disappearing into the crowd, Alex felt the familiar sting of loss. But this time, it wasn't over. He'd planted the seeds of change, and he wasn't giving up. The days after the party were a test of Alex's resolve. Jamie was distant, his texts short, his smiles rare. Alex wanted to chase after him, to beg for another chance. But he knew pushing too hard could break them all over again. Instead, he gave Jamie space, filling the silence with small gestures. A coffee left at his studio. A handwritten note slipped under his door. A playlist of songs that reminded Alex of their best moments. Each act was a quiet promise. "I'm still here." Winter tightened its grip on New York, snow blanketing the city in a hush that mirrored the quiet between them. Alex spent sleepless nights replaying every moment, questioning if he'd done enough to change the past. The weight of his second chance felt heavier than ever. What if he'd only delayed the inevitable? What if Jamie's heart had already slipped away? Then, one freezing January morning, Jamie called. "Meet me at the bridge," he said, his voice unreadable. Alex's pulse raced as he hurried to McCarran Park, the same bridge where they'd reconnected months ago. The air was sharp, the trees bare, but the pond still shimmered under a thin layer of ice. Jamie stood there, wrapped in a scarf, his breath visible in the cold. He looked tired but determined, his hazel eyes catching the weak winter light. "I've been thinking," Jamie began, his voice steady but soft. "About us. About everything you've done these past few months. It's different. You're different." Alex's heart leapt, but he stayed silent, letting Jamie speak. "I was scared," Jamie continued. "Scared you'd pull away again. Scared I'd get hurt. But you've been showing up, Alex. Every day, you've been there. And I think I'm ready to try again." Relief flooded Alex, but it was tempered by the weight of what came next. He stepped closer, his voice low. "Jamie, I need you to know something. I've made mistakes, big ones. But loving you was never one of them. I'm all in. For real this time. No more hiding. No more fear." Jamie's eyes softened, and he reached for Alex's hand. "I believe you," he said, and the words felt like absolution. They stood there, hands clasped, the world around them fading into the background. The bridge, the park, the city, it all felt like theirs again. Over the next few months, they rebuilt their love with intention. Alex came out to his family, bracing for their reaction. His mother's silence stung, but his sister's fierce hug gave him hope. Jamie stood by him through it all, his quiet strength a lifeline. They faced the world together, navigating the stares, the whispers, the occasional cruelty. But each challenge only made them stronger, their love a defiance of everything that tried to tear them apart. By spring, they were inseparable. They moved into a tiny apartment in Greenpoint, their days filled with art, laughter, and the kind of love that felt like coming home. One evening, as cherry blossoms bloomed outside their window, Jamie pulled Alex close, his voice a whisper. "You kept your promise," he said. "You changed everything." Alex smiled, his heart full. He didn't tell Jamie about the time travel, about the future he'd undone. Some truths were too heavy to share. Instead, he kissed Jamie, the warmth of his lips a reminder of the life they'd built. "I'd do it all again," he said, and he meant it. Their story wasn't perfect. There were still fights, still fears, still moments when the world felt too big. But they faced it all together, hand in hand, their love a beacon in the chaos. Alex had been given a second chance, and he'd fought for it with everything he had. In the end, he didn't just win Jamie back, found himself, too. And as they stood on their balcony, watching the city bloom into spring, Alex knew one thing for certain: this time, their love would last.